Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Hi, if you guys are new here. My name is Brittany and this is my husband Josh. Thank you guys so much for clicking on today's video. Over the weekend, we had purchased a new vehicle, which we are going to share with you guys later on in this video. But first, we wanted to share our review and our experience buying, or I should say, trying to buy a vehicle from Carvana. So if you guys are new to our channel, we have 4 kids, so we are a pretty big family and we need a big SUV to haul the kids all around for school and sports and all the things like that. So currently we have a 2015 Lincoln Navigator L, which we still have and we will still be keeping. Oh my God, Whitney! This is gonna have to go in a blooper. Get down. This is Winnie, if you guys are new here. If you guys aren't new here and you guys are returning subscribers, you guys know that she is in every single video and she just jumped up on the chair and jumped up on the table to show her face on here. I'm telling you guys, I don't make this up, that she follows me around everywhere and has to be in every video. I don't make this up, as you guys can see. As you guys are probably aware, the gas prices are ridiculous right now, and they are only going to go up. So since we drive a Lincoln, which is a luxury vehicle, we have to put premium gasoline in it. And so I'm spending about $85 a week in gas, which is a lot of money. It is going to go down a little bit now that it's summer and the kids aren't in school, but we still wanted to get a second vehicle for our family, one that takes a little less gas but can still fit all of us. Josh works from home, so for the past 3 years, we've only had one vehicle. We've had our Lincoln, and it has done us well, and like I said, we're still going to hang on to it to use for bigger trips. When we do road trips, when we go camping, we need to tow a trailer. So we are going to still hang on to our Lincoln for those reasons. But we did add a 2020 Acura MDX to our family over the weekend, and we will share that later on in this video. So the car buying process actually began for us, I want to say back in April is when we kind of decided to buy a new car. Yeah. Okay, let's just say April.
It's a little earlier than that.
Okay. Was it like March?
Probably started looking in February or March, I think.
Okay, I'm way off. I am so bad with time.
As everyone probably knows, there's the global chip and microprocessor shortage that's causing this big shortage in new car production globally. And then the pandemic hasn't helped with that either. So that's also affected the used car market. So there's not a great selection out there right now. All the prices are really overinflated. So it's tough out there to buy a car. And it's kind of similar to the housing market, really. Everything is just going crazy right now. But yeah, it's not easy out there if you're looking for cars. Believe me, we've been looking for a while. We finally made a decent selection here, but it's been tough. Even
when we bought our Lincoln originally, we live in Arizona, and we bought the Lincoln all the way from Florida, and we never got to test drive it. We never got to see it, and that was so nerve-wracking, but it did come with a warranty, and it had to get shipped all the way here. So we chose to start looking for vehicles on Carvana because Arizona, again, did not have that great of a selection. It seems like Arizona doesn't have a great of a selection for used cars, and then adding the shortage, which Josh has talked about, made it even harder. So this time around, since we didn't have that great of a selection in Arizona, we decided to try looking for a new vehicle or a used vehicle on Carvana.
Yeah, that was our first time really giving, giving Carvana a shot, and they're kind of a newer car buying experience. Like, it's a whole new thing. So if you're not familiar, they're all 100% online. So it's an online shopping for cars. It's all remote, right? So you can't go and see it at all. It's just based on the pictures, and they either deliver it to your door, or you can go to, if you're nearby, one of their what they call car vending machines.
Yeah.
You can actually put a coin in, and it goes, like, the machine actually comes and gets your car and brings it out to you. It's pretty crazy. So it's all automated. So very different than the typical, car buying experience at a local dealer and going through, all the sales tactics and negotiating and test drives and
No.
all that stuff, which is a lot of times pretty stressful and frustrating. So it's a pretty interesting concept, right? And it sounded pretty good. I mean, they don't, there's some pros and cons to it. I think, like, the whole model of it in general, right? So I think that they have decent prices. It seems probably not as cheap as you can get at a local dealer. Like, if you went there and negotiated really hard and kind of tried to get the best price you could, you probably could get a little bit better, but they're pretty decent in the price point. And for some people, I think it's kind of nerve-wracking to buy a car online and not be able to really see it and test drive it and all that, but they try to make that a little bit easier for you by giving you a 7-day free test drive. So they deliver it to you, you get it for 7 days. There's a certain number of miles you get to drive. I forget exactly how much it is, but you get plenty of ability to drive it around for 7 days, to get it inspected, see if it fits in your garage, see if you really like the color as much as you thought you did. Like, for any reason at all, you can return it after those, or within those 7 days. So there's really not a ton of risk to it, which is nice. So interesting, concept and experience. So we gave it a shot, or at least we wanted to try it out.
Yes. So we had, not really Josh, this is why he's here. He had been looking at cars for weeks, and nothing was really catching our eye until there was a 2014 Lincoln MKT posted on Carvana. And it actually wasn't officially posted. It didn't have all of the details. It didn't have the pictures. It said coming soon.
Yeah, so some of the cars, like, before they're officially posted on Carvana and they've taken all the pictures and they've inspected it and all that, they have, like, the coming soon section, so you can kind of preview what's coming up, and they actually let you give a $100 deposit so you can kind of get first dibs on it, just based on the specifications and the model.
Yeah.
So that way, once the pictures do come out and they do the inspection, you have a first, I think it's 48 hours to decide if you want to make that purchase, or they release it for anybody else that can buy it too. So we put a reservation down on one of those.
Yes. So that this time it was in April. That Josh was like, I kind of had to make this decision. I wanted to put the first dibs down, and we'll go from there once the inspection's been done, the pictures have been loaded. How long do you think that took?
That took a little while.
Yeah.
I would say probably 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks before that was done, and they inspected it and it was ready to be purchased.
Yes. So they inspected it all. They took the pictures, they posted it, and of course, we said yes, we wanted that vehicle. So here is a little backstory about the vehicle. So as I said before, it was a 2014 Lincoln MKT. This particular vehicle only had 35 miles on it. So 7 years old, only 35 miles on it. What's the scoop? What's the story? Why isn't there any miles on it? So Josh did a little bit of digging and tried to find more information on the vehicle, because
Carvana doesn't have it. Like, that's one of the bad things about Carvana, is that you can't get a lot of information. Like, you can contact the customer service reps who don't have really any firsthand knowledge of the cars. I mean, they're just there to provide customer service, but they don't know anything about all the millions of cars they have posted, and the backstories and the histories. I mean, all they can do is look up what's been posted on the listing, just like you can. So they don't have a lot of ability really to tell you much more than what you can already see yourself, unfortunately.
So Josh got to doing his busy work, and he found that this other dealer where was that other dealer?
Well, I started seeing more of those exact same car pop up on other dealership sites, which it seemed like that would be once in a lifetime kind of thing, right? It's like It's somewhat older vehicle, but it's got no miles on it, and those cars, the MKT, I mean, you don't find them that often on the road anyway. Like weren't like hot sellers, and they weren't advertised all that much either. So you don't see a lot of used ones or any of them really available out there. So when I started seeing a bunch of these, 2014s with almost no miles, brand new, it was like, wow, this is interesting. So I couldn't figure out kind of what the scoop was from Carvana and the one we had, started purchasing. So I reached out to some of those other dealerships where they had their listings, and I figured they'd probably know more about those cars than Carvana could tell me.
So the scoop on this car is that a company in South Korea in 2014 bought a bunch of Lincolns. Not just MKTs, they bought like sedans too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were a limo or taxi service in South Korea, and they were buying a huge shipment of these Lincolns to use for their business. So all of these Lincolns got put on a cargo ship to go from the United States to South Korea, again, in 2014, and the company went out of business at some point while the Lincolns were getting shipped over there. And so these vehicles have been sitting in this giant cargo ship, who knows where, but for 6 years. I don't think they came back to the United States until last year and started being sold in October of 2020. When Josh told me that story, I was like, that is unreal. Like, how at the time that was probably like $500,000 worth of merchandise sitting in a cargo ship. We don't know how many Lincolns there were total, but the one particular dealership that Josh had found out this story from had 15 of them. And then the one from Carvana, so that's 16 Lincolns right there. And if you guys know the Lincoln brand, they're really expensive. So all of this merchandise is just, in my head, every time I say it, I feel like the cargo ship is sitting in the middle of the ocean. I know that's not true, but that's like how my mind interprets it. So that is the scoop on this car, and it was just such a crazy story, and I kind of felt lucky that we were able to find technically a brand new Lincoln for
the price of something that's
like
old
a Kia.
and has 100,000 miles.
Yeah,
on it.
yeah.
These are $50,000 plus cars new. I think it's like 55 sticker price. And they were posted on Carvana. I think it was $23,900 is what we were going to purchase it for. And all the other dealerships even were posting them for around $24,000, $25,000. So it seemed like a great deal.
Yeah, half the price, yet it's still new. Yes, the year is old, but they hadn't upgraded much from those models until now.
So that model, I mean, they've done some updates to it since it came out, I want to say in like 2010. But between this model, 2014 to 2019, when they stopped producing them, there's been very few changes. I mean, it was modern enough for them to continue to sell up through 2019. So there were still... still new enough to be, not outdated too much.
Yeah, and our Lincoln is a 2015, so, and I love our car, so it wasn't going to be much of a difference.
Yeah, most of the technology would have been exactly the same. It works right for us.
And the kids were super excited to have this vehicle because in the third row, like the console runs down the middle of the entire car in between the seats. And then in the console in the very back, like the third row, it's a refrigerator. It's a really small one, But how cool is that? Especially because we live in Arizona and it gets so hot in the summer. I know I probably say that in every video, but the heat is killing me already. But just to have a little fridge in the back seat just to keep your water bottles cold when you go into the store, like that is so cool to me. And yes, we did tell the kids we were getting this car because we were.
We bought it, yeah.
Yeah.
We bought it from Carvana. It was scheduled for delivery. I mean, they ran my credit. They approved it. They took that $100 deposit. I mean, all that. So.
Yeah. So this is why I'm making this video. Is because I feel very screwed over in a sense by using Carvana and the things that we went through. I personally will never use Carvana in my life ever again. I do not recommend it. I know a lot of you over on Instagram who saw my post about our new vehicle have had great experiences with Carvana, which is great. I'm glad it worked out for you guys. It didn't work out for us. And Josh and I are not confrontational people. We aren't picky people. Nothing like that. Like, we don't demand stuff. We don't always go in like trying to get our way with something. We're not like that at all. And I rarely leave bad reviews on Yelp, anything like that. But this time, I felt like I had to share this just in case any of you guys are wanting to use Carvana. I personally do not recommend them.
It's a new service and a new concept, so it's good to, I think, hear different experiences in case you want to give it a shot. And especially right now, because we're in this big, market shortage for cars, and you don't want to go down the wrong path or have the issues that we did, if you can avoid it, or at least know what to look out for, so that you're not in a tough spot. Because as obviously you're going into the story right now, but there was a lot of delays, there was a lot of issues, which when you're running out of supply more and more and out of choices, that's not a good thing. So.
Right. So here's the story. So we had once they listed the car, him and I agreed that day, yes, this is the right choice for our family. We want to buy this car. Josh immediately contacted Carvana. They pulled his credit, as you normally would do to get a car loan. And obviously he came back approved. Yay. And they scheduled the first delivery date to be May 8th, which was the day before Mother's Day. So it was supposed to arrive Saturday, May 8th, around, I think it was 2 p.m. We were so excited. I was excited. It wasn't a Mother's Day gift for me, but I kind of wanted it to be like a Mother's Day gift for me because, we were already celebrating, and that's silly. But that's true. That's honestly how I felt. I thought this brand new car was coming for our family, and I was so excited. We were already celebrating that weekend, and I just felt like everything was going to be cool and awesome and good. So Josh gets a notification. It wasn't even a phone call, right? They don't really do phone calls. It's just...
No, usually emails.
Yeah. So they email him, when was it? Friday? Thursday?
Yeah, probably Thursday or Friday, one of the two.
So a couple days before the car is supposed to be here, they email Josh saying that there was a delay in transportation and that it would be pushed out to May 24th. I was pissed. Like, I don't handle stuff like that well, because my heart was set on it and I was looking forward to it so much. That happened with our Lincoln too, though, which we didn't use Carvana for our Lincoln. We just used another car delivery service, but we purchased it from a dealership. But I remember getting that phone call that the tow truck driver had a blowout or something, and our car was going to have a 2-week delay. And I remember being crushed at that time too. But after I kind of...
Things happen, though,
Exactly, exactly.
You're transporting these huge cars across the country. You get it. I mean, things happen sometimes. It's frustrating, but, stuff happens.
I get upset about things. He's so go with the flow, whatever. I wasn't mad at Carvana at this point. I was just mad that the car wasn't coming when it said it was coming. So
you had to plan your whole Saturday around it to make sure you're available to get the car, and then we had set, of course, our insurance to start on that day so that it was covered, and then obviously we didn't get it, so we're paying for insurance for a car that we don't have yet. We'd scheduled an inspection that then had to be rescheduled.
Oh, that's another thing I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Yes. So, Carvana told us that this 2014 Lincoln was fully under warranty. So,
under the manufacturer's warranty still, because since it had never been, and if you look at the Carfax, it backs this up, it had never been actually registered to a first owner.
Yeah.
It technically, until it's been registered and sold as a registered used vehicle, it's not used yet. So until it was sold to an auction, or an auction company and bought it and then auctioned it off, that's when it was registered for the first time. So that was in October of this past year. So technically, that's normally when you'd think the manufacturer warranty clock kind of starts. At least that's what Carvana was assuming, and that's what Carvana was advertising.
That's what they advertised. And I called Lincoln myself with the car's VIN number, and no, the car had no warranty. It ended in May of 2019 because once it left Lincoln, once it was bought by that limo service in May of 2014, that's when it left. That's when the warranty started. So I was a little concerned about that too, because the car had been sitting with all of its fluids, gas, everything. I don't know for sure if it's going to run a year, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but if we at least had that warranty that Carvana was advertising, that made me feel so much better. But yes, I had already called Lincoln and scheduled service for that week. Because again, we were supposed to get the car on Saturday, May 9th. We only had, or May 8th, we only have 7 days to return the vehicle. So I needed to get it into Lincoln to get a full inspection to make my decision. So I did that, and I got that scheduled, and that was great. And then we got the call that it was delayed. And then it went all the way from May 8th all the way to May 24th. So that did get me a little irritated too, because it was such a long jump. So now we're going to jump to May 24th. And I had called Lincoln again to schedule service again for after May 24th. So May 24th is a Wednesday. The kids are all at school. I was here at the house getting ready. It was supposed to be delivered at 10:30. I was at the house already getting ready because the original plan was to film the whole Carvana car buying experience for you guys on YouTube. Like, this is a video I had been planning to film, like the truck pulling up, delivering it outside, and
we wanted to show a great experience.
Yeah,
we really did. We were ready to.
Yeah, so I'm sitting getting ready, and Josh is like, I can always tell when he needs to tell me something, but he's nervous to tell me because I'm like a firecracker. We'll get mad about lots of stuff. And this is materialistic. Like, we didn't need a car. But I'm sure most of you guys can understand if you're really looking forward to something and it falls through, it's really disappointing. But he comes to me at like 9:30. Again, the car's supposed to be here at 10:30, so I didn't think it had anything to do with the car. And he's like, there's a problem. I said, what now? And he's like, the car, they had to take it through admissions. I was like, okay, didn't pass admissions, because I thought maybe the fluid was sitting there. He goes, no, the admissions are fine. But they just now realized the car only has 35 miles and it's a 7-year-old car. I don't know how they just realized that. When Carvana does their own inspection, someone has to put in the numbers on the listing.
Well, I think when they did the emissions test and kind of ran it through, there was some kind of indication that maybe the mileage wasn't the accurate mileage on the car. And then, of course, the year and the age of the vehicle just kind of compounds that a little bit more. So they were skeptical, and at least this was a story to me. There was some kind of indication that maybe the mileage had been tampered with, so they wanted to investigate it further. But, if they found that that was the case, or that there was any hints that the mileage was tampered with, then they weren't willing to sell the car because of liability issues with them selling a car that the mileage wasn't accurate or whatever. So that's how they left it.
Which blows my mind because A, you should already know this before posting the vehicle, and B, you should have already done this instead of an hour before it's supposed to be delivered for the second time at my house.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, yeah, it's great. Like, if that's true, which I don't know, it's kind of hard to mess with those digital odometers these days, but I guess in theory you could. And do we want a car that's been tampered with the mileage? Sure, we want to know about that, and we probably don't want that. But
right.
If they're going to be buying these cars, used cars, and running it through their own 150-point inspection that they advertise, and looking at them so closely, making sure they're selling good quality cars, they should have found this during their own inspection. They should have found this when they were buying the car weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks ago, and when they were inspecting the car. And especially when you see, like you said, older car, really low mileage, what's going on here? Like, you would think you would be extra diligent to look into that then, before you post it for your customers to sell.
Right.
And not 30 minutes before you're supposed to deliver.
Right.
After you've been waiting already for a month.
Yes, because this was now the second delay. And it took, like you said, 3 weeks before they even posted the vehicle.
Because they were inspecting it.
And to be honest, if this was the only Lincoln, because Josh did contact Carvana's manager and explain the story that Josh got from the other dealer who had 15 of the same scenario vehicles. If this was the only one, then yes, I understand being skeptical. This was number 16 that we know of here in the United States that got sold at this auction that everyone is selling now. It's the same vehicle, the same story.
And it was brand new inside and out. You could tell the seats had no wrinkles on them. Nothing. It was flawless. It looked like a brand new car.
And
a car that age with a bunch of miles that's been hidden, you can't hide that wear like that.
Yeah, and Josh made a good point too, to Carvana's manager, that in the pictures the tires have the ink dot, the paint dot.
Well, they have that too, but the dot, it's a Department of Transportation. They have an actual code stamped on it that shows the month and the year that the tires were manufactured. And so these showed, November of 2013, they were clearly the original tires. So if they'd been driven a ton, in that much year, in that many years to show a bunch of wear, they wouldn't be the original tires anymore, and they wouldn't look as new as they did. So.
Right. So Josh continued to contact the managers, continued to email, and you can also move up your scheduled date. And he was continuing to move up the scheduled date on...
Yeah, the delivery date. Even though I knew they weren't going to deliver it, I was hoping they would at least tell me something, because they were missing the delivery so many times.
Right.
But they didn't, unfortunately. So they would, they told me when they canceled that the last time that they'd be, investigating, and they'll let me know what they find or whatever. But start looking for a new vehicle, basically. Yeah. So we waited several days and never heard anything. So I bugged them a bunch of times and, to get an update. And that was one of the problems too, is that, I think they decided at some point they weren't going to sell the car, but they never told me that. It's still online. It's still a listing that's active on their site. There's actually another one that's the exact same situation, same year, same mileage, everything. It's in the pre-purchase phase right now. It's still on the website. They never canceled my order. I had to go cancel it.
Wow.
I mean, there was no communication, and even when I reached out to them, there was very little they'd tell me, and so that was pretty frustrating.
Yes. So they did give us our $100 back after Josh canceled his order. He got $100 back. They said they could give us $500 off our next purchase, which we already had $500 off because we used
there's
code.
a referral. They do a referral program, so we got referred from somebody and we used their info. So they gave us $500 off that we already had. And they didn't stack. We couldn't use both, so they didn't really give us anything.
No, and they did a hard credit pull, and that does hurt your credit. Not like a substantial amount, but it still does. And that happened, and now they can't do anything for us. That was it. They just gave us our money back and said $500 off on a future purchase
that we already had.
We already had that.
So we were out of luck. And it should have never taken that long. Right. Is really the issue. But especially again when you're in this market frenzy right now, like at the start of it, back when we started this process in early April, it was still pretty crazy, but it wasn't nearly as bad as it is fast forward to the end of May. So all this time we're banking on this car. All these other great cars that we could have been purchasing are being purchased up and grabbed by everybody else. And then we're back to square one with really slim pickings, So it's we're left in a really tough spot, and Carvana wasn't really willing or able to do anything to help. Right. So we were just out of luck.
Yeah. And since, again, we are such a big family, we have to have an SUV with 3 rows. So that even lessens our options because we didn't want a huge one like the Navigator, but we can't have anything too small because we have to have that 3rd row.
Yeah.
So
there's only a handful of models we can pick anyway.
Right.
And then when you're also in a market shortage, there's very, very small selection.
So that is our review and our experience with trying to purchase from Carvana. So
the only other thing I'll say too is that in the middle of all of that, I kind of had a feeling that some of that wouldn't work out. So I was actually created a couple of other accounts on Carvana and reserved a couple of other cars that might be a possibility just in case as a backup. And to this day, those are still waiting for inspection. So that was, probably mid-April. We're now into almost June right now. Yeah. And they're still just sitting there waiting. So weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And things are crazy. So I'm sure they're really backed up and trying to keep up with the demand. But if you go online and go to Carvana and want to reserve some of those vehicles, who knows when they're going to be inspected and ready to sell. Like you have to be prepared to wait for a month, 2 months. You just have no idea.
And then wait for or expect transportation issues, because now the 2 times that we've purchased vehicles, we've had transportation issues as well. Yeah. But then also keep this in the back of your mind too. Are they really doing the inspection that they're advertising? In our case, absolutely not. They didn't do the inspection, 150-point inspection. They might have tried to begin doing it on the day that it was supposed to be delivered, and I don't know how this car had fallen through the cracks. It should have never been posted if there was, any concern about it at all. So that is my story, or our story, on Carvana and why we will never be using them in the future. And that if you guys still choose to use Carvana, just expect a lot of delays and just be very cautious of what you're buying. But they also do have that 7-day return policy, no questions asked, which is great. I still love that fact about them though. So
yeah, if you ever get the car, then great. You're covered by that return period.
And every time I say never, I always say never say never. And speaking of that, Josh and I have both said that we would never buy a brand new car. And what did we do this weekend? We bought a brand new car.
Times have changed.
Yes.
Right? So conventional wisdom is, you don't buy a brand new car, or at least, that's probably the worst financial choice, because of course they just depreciate so much as soon as you drive them off the lot. Yeah. And really the best value is in, a later model used vehicle, where that depreciation has already happened, and you get a better value that way. So that's how we've always purchased vehicles, is a few model years older, relatively low miles, but some, and you get rid of that depreciation, you get yourself a good deal. So that's what we always expected to do.
Yeah.
But right now, the way the car prices are, I mean, you can buy used cars are going for as much as new practically. I mean, there's just no point right now. So.
And if you guys are familiar with the Acura brand, they are having, I don't know if they still are.
Yeah, I mean, it's still going right now, I think. It seems like the best deal that's out there right now. So if you are looking for something in this shortage and you need a good vehicle for a good value, now we went with the MDX. So the Acura MDX, it's a 3-row SUV, midsize. It's one that we really haven't looked at very closely in the past, but somehow, some way, they still have 2020 vehicles out on dealer lots that they're trying to move, because they've already released the 2022 version, because I guess they skipped 21 because of COVID and just went right into 22. So they still trying to get rid of those older vehicles, and they're sitting on the lots brand new, and they're offering some really nice deals.
Yeah, they're like $8,000 here in Arizona. They're $8,000 less than sticker price.
Yeah, well, that, and they have some good bonus promotions and lease deals and whatnot. If you've got other competitive vehicles that you're moving to Acura for the first time, they've got some bonuses and things out there. So seemed like a pretty good deal.
Yeah, I feel like we made the best decision. Do I still wish we had that Lincoln, just because it was such a cool story and I really enjoy the Lincoln brand. I take my car to get serviced at the Lincoln dealership, so I'm have a good relationship with some of the service managers over there, and I just felt like I was going to be taken care of having another Lincoln. I've never had Acura, but we have a dealership not too far from us, which is great because the Lincoln dealership is a bit of a drive.
Well, that was part of this experience too, though. We should talk about buying in that car too, because that was like a good example of the pros and cons of Carvana and their concept versus traditional dealer. Because we had to go back the traditional dealership route. So we go to our local Acura dealership, and that's part of that that uncomfortable part of buying a car is going in and getting those hardcore sales tactics and the old school sales mentality of getting you cornered and not letting you leave, and pinning you down there and trying to get you to buy, and doing everything they can. So that's always just, uncomfortable to have to go through that, and anxiety inducing. So, that first dealership that we worked with, they old school sales mentality really, really went hardcore trying to get us to buy. And, it was just uncomfortable. So,
and they also only had like a few of the 2020 MDX selections that we were looking at, because they have like the standard ones and they have tech model ones. But the Acura dealership further from our house, because we have 4, I think, in the state of Arizona.
Yeah, there's a few. So there was another dealer. It's a good 45 minutes away from the other one and from our house, but they had more inventory that we could look at, and also it just felt like they're probably going to give us a better experience, or at least they probably couldn't get much worse than that dealership, so we gave it a shot.
Right. And they were still able to match the same price that
it was. They'd match the price, but it was just a night and day difference on the experience. Like, this was a guy that has been selling cars many years that we worked with, but he made it really comfortable. He wasn't pressuring us. He just, he was very knowledgeable, answered all our questions.
Because the first guy,
he didn't know anything about
the vehicle, even though he had worked at Acura for 2 years. He didn't know anything about it. He didn't know how the middle row seat belts would hook up, and we're trying to test drive, and Ronan's with us, and he had just no idea. And that's kind of what was bothersome to me, was yes, you're raving about this vehicle, but you don't know anything about it, or what's the difference from 2020 to even 22, because there was a 2022 in the showroom, and of course my eyes were like, oh, I want to look at that one. And he was talking us out of buying the 2022 because they want to get rid of the 2020s, which is fine. But just that experience, and then the experience that we had at the other one, yes, it was total night and day.
So I think the moral of that story is you can still get a good, in-person dealer experience, but it's sort of the luck of the draw, right? So that's the downside, unfortunately, of that
Right.
older model. Whereas Carvana does help you get away from some of that, which is nice if it works out. But it doesn't always work out there either. So
yeah,
it's just tough out there to buy a car right now.
Yeah. But I feel that we made a great decision. I drove it on the way home, which was 45 minutes, and then I drove it today. Ronan went over to my dad's, so that's another 25 minutes or so. Of course, I got iced coffee this morning because I'm an iced coffee addict, and I drove it this morning, and it drives really smooth. I'm lower to the ground, which I have to adjust to that because before the Lincoln, I drove a Yukon XL. So even though I'm so short, I prefer to drive the biggest vehicle because I like to see traffic, 2 or 3 cars ahead of me so I can be prepared. So that's a little bit of adjustment getting used to it. It's just being a little bit lower to the ground, but I can fill up the tank. How much do you think it's going to cost?
I mean, it's probably half the size of our car, but it gets
so much. Yeah,
mileage.
the Lincoln gets 14 to 15, and this not MKC. What is it? MDX gets, I think he said almost double, so like 25.
Yeah, I think 25 highway, 20 city combined is like 23.
Perfect. And I'm not going to be driving as much this summer, and the kids' school for next year is closer to our house, so we're going to be saving. Yes, we've added a car payment to our household, but we're also going to be saving on gas, and I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to put less wear and tear on my Lincoln because those are really expensive vehicles. I don't plan on replacing that anytime soon, so I want that to last and take for road trips and camping.
And you wanted a second vehicle.
I did want a second vehicle.
In case anything happens to our main one.
Yeah, because my Lincoln had been under warranty up until March. Oh, so it was March. That's why we originally started looking for vehicles too. Gas prices, and because the Lincoln's warranty ended in March, and before anything happened to the Lincoln, even if the tire popped, roadside assistance would be right there. But if anything needed to be repaired on the Lincoln, I just took it to the dealership and they gave me a loaner. So we would always have a vehicle. Now that it's not under warranty, if I take it to go get fixed, I'm paying out of pocket for the repairs, and I don't get a loaner. That's complimentary. I'm sure I could pay for one, but I don't even want to know how much that costs. Plus I'm paying for repairs. Not really an option. So now we have the comfort and reliability of having a second vehicle, even though Josh works from home all the time and doesn't leave the house probably five days out of the 7 days a week. He probably he's just always home. So a second vehicle wasn't something that still isn't a necessity, but I'm glad that we now have it, and I'm very proud of Josh and all his hard work and providing for his family. I love you.
Me too.
Before I end the video, I wanted to come outside and show you guys the car and show you guys the car. So here it is. So we ended up going with the silver exterior because we liked the color of the interior the best. They did have a white exterior with a tan interior, and then they had a dark gray, like a charcoal gray exterior, but it had black interior, and then they had black exterior and black interior. I always thought that if if the interior was black, it would get hotter, but according to the sales guy, they've tested it, it's not true. It's just kind of like psychological. But these are like light gray seats. The carpets are dark, which I like because of your feet or the kids. And it's all leather, which I like that as well. It does have heated seats in the front. And I'm loving it so far. So it does have third row. We just don't have the seats up right now. But it comes with this cool mat. What are these called? It comes with this cargo mat that flips up. And then in here, it also comes with extra storage. And then underneath this is your spare tire. And then these are the third row seats. And then it is a bench seat back here in the back. But if you're not using the middle seat, this folds down and you can use it for a cup holder. And then there also is air back here, which the temperature and the fan speed can be adjusted. Some of the SUVs, it has the vents, but you can't control it from the back. It's whatever the front has it set on. So I liked that this, you can change it. Alright you guys, that is going to be it for today's video. I'm sorry it was a little bit of a long one. I think the last few videos of mine have been long ones. I apologize. We've just had a lot of things going on in our lives and a lot of things to share. So I hope that you guys stuck with us through the end of this video. If you did, drop a dog emoji since we have a dog on the table. If you guys are still here at the end of this video, drop
a car one. Is there a car emoji?
Oh, there is.
Is there?
Okay, either a dog or a car emoji. Drop one of those in the down below if you guys are still with us here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to follow me over on Instagram. If you guys are new here, don't forget to subscribe and join our growing YouTube family. We would love to have you guys here. We have more exciting content coming very soon. We'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.